It definitely saved us time. I mean, the time from having subfloor ready to standing up the walls to getting trusses on and drying in the house, I think it was like 2 weeks. That's just us kind of doing the work with our family. So yeah, definitely relieved a lot of stress. You know, you can get a lot of weather into this big investment you've made as you get rain down into the house and stuff while you're building it. That just, you know, only increases the likelihood that you might have squeaky floors or something someday. So getting it dried in so quickly was awesome, and made us feel good. Like all the materials and you know, building materials that we had invested in for the inside of the home were protected as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I think also for us, because we were doing this ourselves with our family and really inexperienced construction crews, by really we mean completely inexperienced, the fact that we had a system that we could explain how it went together really well and pretty easily, and then that was as easy to stand up as the claims of it were, really made that possible for us to include friends and family in the build of the house, and for them to be able to feel like they were really successful really quickly with helping us.
Yep.
For us, we have absolutely noticed a difference in hearing our neighbors' cars drive by or hearing the wind blowing in the yard. We've already kind of joked that we have to actually go to a window and look outside to really know what the wind is doing, because we don't hear it. We're not really hearing the wind rustle the trees. We're not really hearing you know, the dump truck come by to pick up trash. We're just really experiencing a lot quieter interior home environment than we did in our old house. Even living still just a block away from a major street, we don't hear that road traffic nearly as much as we did in our old home either. So it's really been astonishing, and has really been something that we've remarked to each other and others about as one of our favorite features of the house.
Yeah, and I think since we've moved in, we've had, you know, it's springtime, we've had we've had some roller coaster weather, just as far as temperatures and things go. And I don't think I have touched the thermostat once. I mean, you know, you build a house this tight and this energy efficient, and the system for conditioning the space just kind of takes care of the rest. So unlike, you know, in the older home that we were in, where we were kind of constantly having to change our expectations for interior comfort, this one we sort of just like set it, and the interior environment just is comfortable and without really a lot of thought. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
BuildSmart was not the only sort of like environmentally conscious building solution or product that we pursued to build this house. And it complements those other things very nicely. But what I would say is that the BuildSmart experience super exceeded the experience we had in working with some other you know, product manufacturers. So just kind of like pound for pound, we had a much better experience working with BuildSmart than we did some of the other eco-friendly solutions that are in the house. We're excited about those things, but BuildSmart really delivered for us. So they integrate well, and the thing that's great about the BuildSmart system is that it is familiar to all of the trades that had to come in and kind of help us, or when we were working on kind of trade work within the house. You know, unlike a structural insulated panel that is kind of difficult to do your mechanical and electrical through, this is a typical framed house. It just has the added benefits of exterior insulation and all the kind of like BuildSmart features in it. So it integrated really well, because once we stood up the panels, it was like finishing a kind of a regular house that just happened to be high performance.
Yeah, and I think too, the opportunity to work with BuildSmart to secure the kinds of windows that we wanted, that the kind of partnerships that BuildSmart has with other suppliers of building products that we wanted to include in the home, but probably wouldn't have been able to procure if we were independently going out and trying to source those items, meant that the building envelope could be even that much tighter and that much more energy efficient, and we could get some of the features in products that we were really looking for by working with BuildSmart, and then having those integrated into the panels right when we got them just made it that much more time efficient. It's been so much more comfortable. It's quieter than our old house. I mean, we lived in a house that was built in 1950 prior to this, so some of that's just 1950s stuff. But the quality of insulation and the quality of windows that we were able to procure through BuildSmart mean that we genuinely have to look outside to know how windy it is, which is just kind of fun. But we also haven't turned on any kind of conditioning for the basement since we moved in. We haven't really touched that thermostat. And the other kind of zones of the house, we've sort of set to what we want them to be, and we haven't had to touch them again. So especially on a week like we've had this last week, where it's 95 degrees and really high humidity outside, to come inside and know that you don't have to crank up the air conditioning or run a bunch of fans to make yourself feel comfortable when you're coming in from the outside environment is just really nice. So it's been quiet, it's been comfortable, and we know that we haven't had to adjust that too much to be able to make ourselves comfortable in this house.
Yeah, you know, we were really excited by the prospects of the comfort and energy efficiency that we would get in this house, having used BuildSmart. And early on, the energy savings is a little difficult to quantify. We, as Lydia said, we went from a 1950s ranch-style house to this house. It's all electric, this house. So totally apples and oranges as far as electric bills. But we're going to gather those data points and get a sense of really the cost savings that we're finding. But right off the bat, we perceived that comfort difference, and so did family and friends, you know, and peers who come in from sort of like a code-built modern house that might compare to ours. They notice the difference in quietness, in comfort, and the difference just sort of in the feel that the house has, in spite of whatever's going on outside. So yeah, we're definitely really pleased with the buildability that BuildSmart brought us, but the long-term comfort that the whole system has kind of afforded us. So the cost savings will follow, but we feel it right away. We would recommend it. Our family who helped us with the house, our retired relatives and aunts and uncles with zero construction experience, helped build this house. We're proud of that. They are proud of that. It was a special family experience, really, that was enabled by working with BuildSmart. So when we had the vision of building a home and we started designing it ourselves, what we found that was really exciting is that to work with BuildSmart, we didn't need to start over with our design. We didn't need to have some sort of special, you know, architectural input necessarily. It is so similar to your typical code-built house, just with a few detail changes that BuildSmart helps you consider. We were able to take the design and the plans that we had for this home and just work to deliver them in the BuildSmart sort of system. So yeah, it doesn't take, you know, special training or architectural detailing to work with this system. And so really we have already recommended it to family members, friends, and other companies, you know, who have an interest in building environmentally friendly homes or buildings, and just let them know, like, hey, you can do it with this. Even if you're, you know, 75% of the way through your design, you can speak with BuildSmart, learn about their product, and figure out how to quickly adapt your plans to use the BuildSmart system.
We did not. So the short answer to that is no. We, in about 2 weeks, and I would say that 2 week time frame was mostly due to weather that we ran into, some weather complications that delayed us a little bit in setting up the walls. We did it with a team of about 7 people each day, myself and Mark, and honestly, our retired relatives. So we had friends who maybe were, in from out of town or were on break since we did it over the summer. So we had some folks who were, in their 30s who came and helped us, but genuinely our workhorses on the project were folks who were in their 60s and early 70s with 0 construction experience, who just had a love for the project and a love for us and wanted to try their hand at it. So the training was really minimal. The ability to feel successful was there from kind of the beginning. And so it was our family and friends that helped us stand up this house. And really, we wouldn't have been able to do that without using the Build Smart system.
Well, I think you probably set out when you're working with Build Smart to build and continue to own your building. I mean, and as homeowners, that's obviously kind of naturally our experience, but there's cost savings up front, there's timeline savings up front, there's quality up front that helps all of your follow-on trades work better and be more successful. But really the benefit of Build Smart is 20 years from now, when you've recouped all kinds of costs from saved utility bills, when you've reduced your maintenance because the system is durable. So kind of from a developer standpoint, I think if you want to build and hold a quality building, Build Smart is the system that's going to help you do that. Build it.
So from an architectural standpoint, the Build Smart system was really editable, even after we had already gone through several iterations of house designs, which we did ourselves. So again, this was a DIY project in every sense of the word. So we were the designers, we were the architects, we were the engineers, we were the general contractors, we were the subcontractors, we were the builders. So the ability for us to have the kind of communication channel that we had with Build Smart staff while we were maybe tweaking some of the designs, or while we already had a really clear idea of what we wanted, to be able to communicate back and forth between the Build Smart team and ourselves as we were sort of finalizing the design of the home was just really helpful and ensured to us that we were going to trust the product that was going to show up on site. So knowing that the windows were going to be the right size, and knowing that we were going to have the right wall panels in the right spots, with studs that were going to be spaced in the way that we wanted them to for the rest of the build. This was probably the component that was the most important to have all of those things be correct for, but also for us throughout the process, kind of the least stressful. I mean, some of the follow-on things that we had to plan and try to execute, we didn't feel quite as sure that they were going to get done in the way that we had asked for them to be done. At no point did we feel that way with Build Smart. So even though we had multiple drawings already by the time we engaged Build Smart in this process, we were able to sort of sit down with the team and say, is this still possible? What would make it more buildable? Is this something that you guys can provide, or that we need to source somewhere else? So we were still able to sort of refine the design and ensure that it was going to meet our expectations when the panels actually arrived on site. And as people who were doing it ourselves, it was really, really nice to feel like we had a trusted partner in that design work.
I liked that we knew that the drawings and the architectural intent that we had for the project were going to be what was delivered on site. There's a lot of really talented and hardworking framers out there, but especially right now where there's kind of challenges and labor shortages, The factory built, precise, exacting kind of value that BuildSmart brings to your project just gives you the confidence that you're going to stand up your walls, that your openings are going to be exactly where you wanted them, that you're going to be able to plug doors in, plug features into the system because it fits and it's done right. The confidence to call up your inspector and say, we know that our framing inspection and rough-in is going to go well. And the confidence to know that all of our components that are on paper designed to fit with the system are going to fit because it's dimensionally right, it's designed right, and that just the quality is there.
Mm-hmm. And I would add, from a buildability perspective, the panelized system goes in so easily. Like, again, it was us and like 5 or 6 people who'd never put up a dog house, let alone a house. And we were able to build this high quality, high performance home on a timeline that would not have been achievable either. So that, I think, is a really big point and was a really big point for us as well. From that buildability standpoint, when you've got materials on site, they're in all kinds of weather, they might be deteriorating in different kinds of environments, to be able to know that you can get your high quality and high investment products on site and then get them installed very quickly so that they can be in a safe environment that was incredibly valuable to us as well. So easy to put up. We knew we could do it on a timeline that was going to make it a more manageable project, and that was going to ensure the integrity of the building materials remained intact.
And I would also add that I don't think enough can be said for sort of a liquid flashing and weather resistant barrier on the outside. Unlike some other building products where the orientation and sort of like the shingling, if you will, of the weather resistant barrier is really important and can require a lot of expertise to do right. This system, it really it relies on the quality of these liquid flashings and some of the partners that BuildSmart works with to finish the envelope. We were able to stand this up, liquid flash all the seams, and know that we have a super weather resistant, airtight house without worrying that the skilled labor on site maybe did or didn't get some of those details right. So we know that from the factory and then through to the finish, because of the simplicity of the system, that those details are right. No. The real advantage of delivering the framing of your project with the BuildSmart system is that any challenges, any edits that you would need to sort through, you sort through in the shop drawing process. So you really, kind of go over the building with an architectural fine comb before the panels are delivered. So instead of discovering those problems later, you discover them prior to the manufacturing process. So really what's on the page is what you get when the panels are delivered. And then the second thing I would say is that let's imagine you did discover, or an owner-driven change occurred and you wanted to sort of edit these panels. To a great degree, you can edit these panels because they're manufactured, really they're framed in pretty typical stick framing, advanced framing fashion. So unlike a structural insulated panel, something that's really from the factory and for the rest of its life cannot be edited, this system can be edited. You can modify it. You can, with the right approvals from the right, architects and engineers, you can make a change like that after you've got the product in the field. So it really has advantages on both ends. It is exactly what you ordered and what you drew up, but it has the editability to adapt both in the construction phase and later in the ownership phase if you decide you want to make a change to your building. I think the thing that impressed me about the BuildSmart system is not any one particular feature, but it's the combination of so many features and construction science best practices that are all rolled into one product that I just haven't seen packaged in that way anywhere else. So the combination of the just arrow straight LSL framing, the exterior insulation that provides, increased thermal performance, the liquid flashed rough openings that, increases the building's air tightness and durability, and then the pre-installed windows that you can opt for. Really just the combination of all those things just puts BuildSmart ahead above any other product that I've seen on the market when looking into our own project for this single family residential build, and then with some new opportunities that I've had at as a project manager to look into products for building multifamily housing. There's really just nothing that I've found that compares to the unique combination of great assets that BuildSmart brings. Well, we've found the home to be extremely comfortable. We chose to go all electric just to kind of be consistent with our, environmentally conscious build. And when we engaged our HVAC contractor and we provided some of the R values and thermal efficiencies of the envelope, got a few head scratches in a positive way from our HVAC contractor, who was a little surprised that we were going to be able to build a whole home with that level of insulation and efficiency. So we ended up with a much smaller unit than that HVAC person had anticipated. So obviously it saved us money on the front end by just being able to downsize from this tonnage to this tonnage because we have so much investment in the envelope. So yeah, we're excited about that. The house is incredibly comfortable. This thing kicks on pretty rarely, honestly. So we're very happy with how there's kind of some other dominoes that fall in the building process when you start with something like BuildSmart. Yeah, so in addition to obviously your standard heating and cooling, built a really airtight house, so we're not getting pollen and gunk and cold breezes into the house, so we kind of have to mechanically breathe for the house. So we work with our HVAC contractor to install this ERV, which is pulling fresh air from outside, it's filtering it and heat exchanging it with the interior air and then pumping the old stale air out. So we're really maximizing the effectiveness of our HVAC system and also maximizing the indoor air quality by cycling that air on purpose rather than some other code-built quality homes that are sort of just leaking and receiving air from the environment to sort of exchange air. We're doing it on purpose on our terms to have a high quality indoor environment.